What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, aka Adulting Day. If y'all know what I mean, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. But shout out to each and every person that is here so far. I'm glad that you are all here. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you are new. And if you are new to the channel, I'm glad that you are here. Shout out to the people, all the members, all the people in the chat. For those who may not be able to catch this in real time, shout out to the replay gang. Also, shout out to my people over there on Patreon as well. And also, one thing I've never shouted out during my intros is shout out to the people who follow me on Rumble. You know, we do True Crime Sunday every other Sunday there over there at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So let me see, who do we have in here so far? We have Wallow J, Raging Woody 74, Silky Danielle, James Brooks, Reparations Nations, Gloria SD Johnson, Hurricane Nisi, Cosma Fury, Dewani, Mike Mellis John, Dark Titan, the My Voice channel, Zavon Scott, DSM Sinister, Letitia, Miss Incognito 72, LOM, DSA, Andre Edwards, the Atavist, Finest, Queen Imani Huey, Joseph Washington, Priscilla Taylor, Barb, Mimi McCoy, and D Money 2002. Shout out to each and every one of you who is here so far, and also shout out to those who will be coming into the chat later on as we progress through this live. Now, before we actually get into this stream, I'm going to ask the audience a question. Put a 1 in the chat if you are familiar with this story. Put a 2 in the chat if this will be your first time ever hearing of this. I know I saw somebody earlier say that they actually watched this entire trial thanks to, I think they said on Court TV. And ironically, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today is going to be coming from straight off of the Court TV website. As a matter of fact, a good 95% of it is going to come from Court TV. All right, so we see D Money said 1, Dark Titan said 1, BJ said 2, Wallow said 1-ish, Andre said 2, Zavon said 2. I'm seeing 2s. I'm seeing 2s and 1s, 2s and 1s. Miss Incognito says, I know it because of you. Honestly, Miss Incognito, I would not have known about this story if I didn't come across it maybe 2 weeks after the verdict. So just to give a little bit of a summary of this story, because we're going to go over some things. This is probably going to be a pretty lengthy stream because some of these videos are pretty lengthy. As a matter of fact, the longest video is like 25 minutes. Then there's I think there's like a 14-minute video in there, and the rest are like under 10 minutes. And it's like 4 videos in total. So we probably going to be here for damn near 2 hours, but I'm sure y'all don't mind that. But basically, back in 2023, there was this woman by the name of Ashley Henning. As you can see, she's in the thumbnail, and that's her husband, whose name is Jordan Henning. And after, or maybe during her birthday party, they got into an argument. They got into an altercation of some sort. Mind you, they have children together, so there were kids present when this was going on. And all of a sudden, they just, like I said, they got into one big like altercation, and it was a camera set up in the house, like I don't know, like surveillance, like in-home surveillance type of camera, just in case like if someone broke in or for security purposes. And then all of a sudden, they got into it. And then I'm just kind of paraphrasing because I can't show the video on here because they actually do have the whole video of it happening. And Jordan pulled out his firearm and went upstairs where Ashley was at, because she had went upstairs, and he let a couple of rounds out, and he ended up taking her life. But to make matters even worse is after he did it, he spit on her body like she was already deceased. He spit on her body. Then he went and reloaded and came back and popped her some more times. So that's just a summary of the video. Like the video is way more detailed than that, but that's just the cusp of it. That's why I titled the thumbnail, "There Was No Love There." And when I saw this and heard about it, it reminded me of the of Chad Wheeler, and what he did to his girlfriend. You know, she was also black. Of course, she didn't lose her life, but he beat her within an inch of her life because he beat her and he strangled her, and he sat down and finished and was continuing to eat and said, "Oh, I thought you died." And I said, well, Wallow, you just kind of brought it up. The sad part about it is that their kids were present while all of this was happening. Like the kids were up, they were awake, they were not asleep. Like she even like one of the last things she told her kids before she lost her life was to go in their rooms and lock the door. That was one of the last things that her kids heard their mother say while she was alive, was to go in your room and to lock your door. Because he literally, like one of the last times you see her is she's coming around the corner after he already has the gun, and he's yelling at her, and she comes around the corner and it looks like she has a phone, like she's calling somebody. And then she goes up and tells him to lock the door, and then he's yelling up at the stairs at her. Then he goes up there, and that's in the last, and it pretty much, and the last thing you hear is pop, 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 pop. And you hear the kids screaming in the background and crying, and it's very sad. It's a sad situation all the way around. It sounds like something straight out of a Lifetime movie. So that's just me giving the overview of what's in the video because I can't show it. If you see, like, if you like, I'm sure, like, if you follow the trial, I think someone in the chat said that they watched it. They did show the video, and you can see it for yourself. You don't actually see him shoot his wife, but you can hear it. So with that being said, y'all, I just wanted to give y'all that little overview. And the reason why I mention it like that is because a lot of people were upset because of the sentencing that he got. He only got 20 years in prison for a first-degree manslaughter charge. Because his charge was actually, I think, at the murder level, but then he got a plea deal, and then they lowered it to first-degree manslaughter and only sentenced to 20 years. And a lot of people were pissed about that, considering the optics of the case. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to go ahead and go to Court TV's website. And like I said, this video right here, I want to start with this one because this video is 25 minutes and 42 seconds long. So I'm just giving y'all a heads up. This is not YouTube, so we can't speed up the audio to make it go a little bit faster. So this video right here is when Jordan Henning takes the stand. So this is when he's on the stand, like his attorneys, I guess they advise that he gets on the stand. And let me just tell you, he's going to be very performative up there. If you haven't seen this already, he's going to be very dramatic. I'm just giving y'all a heads up.
Okay, here we go. The defendant has elected to take the stand. Jordan Henning, in his own words. Let's listen.
You raise your right hand. You swear in front of the testimony you're about to give me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got it. It's already in. Have a seat. You have enough to raise attention of testimony, microphone, and answer questions.
Hold on, y'all. I don't know what's going on. This light is buffering.
Jordan, could you state your name?
My name is Jordan Henning.
How old are you?
34 years old.
You've seen the video and heard the audio, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I guess we'll go into your testimony, but what do you say to those things, the audio and the video?
They're horrible. They're disgusting. I destroyed lives that day, and the people I loved, and I can't bring that back, and I can't fix this situation. And
now, before I go any further, I want to read what the captions say on the side of the like right there on the side where it says day of the shooting, because I think that's important information that's there. It says on the day of the shooting, the couple's 13-year-old daughter was in the home during the shooting. And it also goes on to say that testified that her parents argued over cleanup after the party. So this wasn't clearly during the party, it was after the party was over and when they were cleaning up. So apparently there were some people that were there, like maybe family or something like that, but not a whole bunch of people. Like they probably just like nobody, like any friends or family, like friends were there. It wasn't a lot of people. Because if you look at the video, it wasn't a lot of people. You only saw her, him, and a couple of their kids.
The people I loved, and I can't bring that back, and I can't fix this situation, and I'm sorry, and I know that I'll never be enough.
Okay. Let's start back at the beginning, okay? Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Sardinia, Ohio.
You grew up there?
I did.
And who raised you?
I lived with my mom and my stepfather, and then my grandparents raised me. My grandfather mainly.
Your grandfather?
Yes, sir.
And did you spend a lot of time with your grandfather?
I did almost every day and almost every weekend.
What kind of person was he?
He was a hard worker. He was a good man. Instilled a lot of discipline in me. Taught me everything I knew how to do in life, from working on cars and how to farm and how to fix houses and just everything. He's phenomenal.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Eastern Local Brown. It was one of just a couple of high schools in the county.
How did you do there?
I did really good. I played soccer. I ran track. I was part of the National Honor Society. I had a really good high school experience.
Did you work?
I did. I worked at McDonald's.
How many hours a week?
I want to say it's 20 to 25.
Oh, my bad. Well, I didn't even see your comment. I wasn't even paying attention. I was so busy on the other screen. But you said what state did this happen in? This happened in Kentucky. And shout out to the fundraiser for the 5. He said, will you be talking about or looking into the Jordan Hill incident that happened? And I appreciate the super chat. I can't say that I'm familiar with the Jordan Hill situation. Like, you're the first person I've heard talk about it. So I need to look into that. But I do appreciate you for the contribution.
I was a minor when I worked there.
After high school, did you work?
I did. Once I graduated high school, I worked IT for our county hospital. From there, I went and worked at a gas station and then as a security guard for 2 years. After that, I went and worked with kids at a life skills center. And these kids, they had mentally developed disabilities. And so we taught them life skills and things of that nature.
Okay, now, when you talk about working with children and life skills and so forth, were these children mentally handicapped?
Yeah.
So y'all see what they're doing right here now. Y'all see what they're doing right here. They're basically trying to soften the blow because they're trying to pull out all the, I guess, niceties about Jordan Henning because they already know what he did was absolutely tragic and very different from what he's describing, what he's doing, what he used to do. So they're trying to soften the blow for the jury. That's really what they're trying to do. They're not trying to paint him out to be the monster that he's already presented himself as leading up to this trial.
Yes, sir. They were diagnosed with mental retardation from little to no assistance to full care. So we would teach them, how to eat, how to cook, how to pay bills, how to use the bank, and then I worked in their homes from time to time. And at the homes, we would teach them how to bathe, try to help them be more self-reliant so that they didn't rely so much on the state as try to give them an independent life.
How long did you do that for?
I worked there for, it was right around 2 years.
Did you seem to have a knack for that?
Can you say that again?
Did you seem to have a knack for that?
I did. The kids that I worked with primarily were high risk and high behaviors, and they responded well to me. So I felt like, I had a pretty good calling with working with kids.
Okay, now at some point, did you decide to join the military?
I did. While I was actually working at the Life Skills Center, I tried out for the Ohio State Patrol. I was denied due to lack of previous police experience or military experience. And seeing that the military would have been the easier route, or I should say the more expeditious route, I chose to enlist and follow in my grandfather's footsteps.
What was your grandfather? Had he served?
He did. He served in the Korean War.
Didn't have that kind of experience military when you applied to police, so then you applied to the military. And did you enlist?
I did enlist, yes, sir.
And when did you enlist?
I enlisted in the delayed entry program in September of 2012, and then I shipped off to basic training February 2013.
Where did you do basic training?
So I went to basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Then from there, I went to advanced individual training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Now, 2013, were you assigned to Fort Stewart in Georgia?
I was. Fort Stewart was my first duty station, and after completing advanced individual training, I went there in the summer. I believe it was the end of June of 2013.
Okay. And at Fort Stewart, did you train for deployment?
We did. So the unit that I showed up to was a rapid deploying unit. Basically, it would be a year on, year off.
Kareem says, what does this line of question have to do with anything? It says he's a white supremacist scumbag. The reason why they're asking him these questions is because that's where they met. They both met while they were in the military. So I'm assuming that's why they're asking the questions, because they're trying to get the lead up into the meeting and all types of stuff to try to figure out, okay, what caused this? Because they said they know that they had an argument at her. Now, this was her birthday party. It was her 37th birthday party. She's actually older than him. He's actually 34. It may not look it, but she was older, but she had 3 years on him. Well, depending on when his birthday was or fell, he would be turning 35 this year, depending if he's just turning 34 this year or if he's turning 35 this year. But it was at her birthday party where they had the argument, which is where she ended up losing her life at his hands. So I'm guessing because they both met in the military, that's why they're asking him these questions.
So training up for that deployment, we were supposed to go to Afghanistan. The unit had a rotation. It was just yearly. I was a truck driver, so we would train on convoy escorts, but we also specialized in security teams. And so we trained in detainee ops and things of that nature.
Now, did you go to the National Combat Training Center?
I've been there between the two of them 9 times total.
There's 2?
There is. So there's one in Fort Irwin, California, and then there's another one in Fort Polk, Louisiana.
We've heard about it, but I want to ask you, during the course of the times you were there, did people die?
Yes, sir. They unfortunately lost their lives.
More of the circumstances.
So the 2 that I saw, one was a soldier was sleeping behind a vehicle. It was pretty normal that we would either sleep inside or behind and in and around our vehicles when, missions weren't going on. It was quicker. You didn't have to set up a tent. And unfortunately, the driver of the vehicle did not look around. He started the vehicle and rolled back, and it killed his truck commander. The other individual that I saw pass away had a shipping container that fell off of a truck and it crushed him. I couldn't have been more than 15 feet away from him when that happened.
All right, so I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because I know we want to get to like the main line of questioning, which is why we're all here. So I'm trying to skip ahead a little bit. I should have did this before I got on this stream, but I didn't know they was gonna do these softball questions that early.
From Iraq, and there were retrograding equipment, any kind of weaponry that wasn't considered, that were attacked, and so you were just always on alert.
I'd say while you were on deployment, while you're overseas, are you?
Before I joined the Army, so when I joined, I went through basic training, and I went
Defendant Jordan.
Okay.
the letter that explained it. Yes.
Now, after your deployment's over, where do you go? What do you do?
So I redeployed back to Fort Stewart, Georgia. And so when I came home from deployment, her husband, I believe they were married, went to Texas, and I was still living in Ohio. So I didn't get a chance to see her. I didn't get a chance to grow up to know her or anything like that.
Like, when was the first time you saw her?
First time I saw her was on video when I was in Kuwait.
Now, when you finished your deployment, did you start the process of adopting? I'm getting, you were already the father, gaining custody.
No, that was a few years later.
Now, Ashley, where did you meet Ashley?
Okay.
I met Ashley in Kuwait. Her unit, when I worked at the battalion headquarters, her unit was one of the subordinate units that came in. And I met her probably about 5 months in, maybe 6 into my deployment. So that was the start of hers.
Now, let me just also add this in, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think initially they were going to have him take the stand. I think initially they were going to have him not take the stand, but then his attorneys or whoever basically convinced him to take the stand. Because this was their last chance, I guess, at to trying to make him seem like an empathetic or sympathetic individual. And shout out to Stay Positive for the 5. They said, thank you, Torin, and happy New Black Media Appreciation Month 2025. Be one to all. I appreciate you, Stay Positive, for the contribution. But I believe that he wasn't initially supposed to take the stand, but I think they convinced him to do it.
And you've been told that your marriage was over. Did you all begin dating?
So when she showed up, she was married and told me that she was going through a divorce. And being that I was just going through a divorce as well, and this was new to me, it's something we really helped each other through. And so we started talking, started seeing each other there in country. And that was for about 4 months. So when I went back to Georgia, we stayed in contact while she was still in Kuwait. In October of 2015, I re-enlisted to go to Fort Carson, where her unit was stationed out of. I was on orders to go there at the beginning of 2016, and
Wallo, you took the words right out of my mouth when you said that. 2 people going through a divorce at the same time and then like getting together, that's not a good thing. Not a good thing. Like I said, when he met her, she was married and she was going through a divorce, and when he was going through a divorce too. So yeah. Nah, brother, man, I think she had a child from her previous marriage. Queen Mom says that happens a lot in the military. I wouldn't doubt it.
by the time I moved there, she had already finalized her divorce. And so me and her moved in, or I moved in with her. She had just got an apartment with her sons.
That's you and Ashley?
Yes, sir.
at Fort Carson.
Yes, sir.
And at that time, obviously, you're seeing each other, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, when did you get married?
We got married May 27th, 2016.
Okay. And did you believe you were in love with Ashley?
Absolutely. It's the whole reason you get married.
I want to ask you, at the time, was she under orders to be reassigned, transferred?
She was, and I don't remember if it was in April or beginning of May, she came onto orders to go to Fort Drum, New York.
To Fort where?
Fort Drum, New York.
And did you want to go to Fort Drum?
No, nobody wants to go to Fort Drum.
And when you all got married, does marriage cancel a transfer like that?
Because I was so new to Fort Carson, the Army stabilizes soldiers for 3 years. And so when we got married, it did cancel her orders because of my stabilization.
And Fort Drum she didn't want to go to.
No.
All right. Now you're married. And does there come a point in the marriage where there's some abuse?
There goes.
What happened?
So
I always pay attention to body language. Every question that he was being asked, he had his head up the whole time and was able to answer them with no hesitation. But then he asked, in the marriage, was there ever any abuse? And then he immediately puts his hand down. And now here's what the theatrics is about to kick in, everybody. This is where it's about to kick in. Now, of course, as y'all listen to this, as we listen to this, rather, you take that however you want.
when we were in Colorado, not long after we got married, we got into an argument. And when I tried to leave the house, she had kicked me in the back down our concrete steps.
What Zavon said, that's why I didn't want to say it, because I had read up a little bit on it before this part of the video played, so I knew he was going to say something. I just didn't know to which extent. He just said that she had kicked him in the back and it caused him to fall down the stairs. Remember, this woman is deceased. She can't defend herself.
I busted my chin. I went to my NCO's house for the weekend just to let things cool off. And, I went back over Sunday evening and we talked about it. She apologized and I thought this was going to be a one and done thing. The following Monday, my NCO had told my first sergeant, that's what he has to do. First sergeant recommended, that we go to counseling, and so I didn't know where to do that. So he sent us to the unit chaplain. That's how we started seeing the chaplain there. There had been times where she worked a lot and she would bring home her laptop a lot. And I believe it was the orderly room is where she worked. So she had to do a lot for a big unit. And I know she would be stressed. And I'm sure me and the kids didn't help that at all. The boys were young, we were rowdy. But there are times where she would throw things at me, or she'd hit me in the face. She would knock plates of food out of my hand. She did it to the boys one time, and
the way he's playing this up, he's painting her out like she was a monster. Like, look at what else he's saying that she allegedly, because I can only say alleged because we weren't there. She's not here to defend herself. The kids aren't going to, they weren't going to put the kids up on the stand. Saying that, more hits to the face, knocking food out of his hand. abusing the kids. Like I said, I'm only taking what he's saying with a grain of salt because, again, she's not here to defend herself.
I was not okay with that, not to them. And so I told her, I was like, if you're going to do it to me. You know, when we first got together, we had a really good sex life. And, you know, we're young and we're trying different things. And there was a time where she tied me down and used some things on me. And no matter how much I
Hold on, wait a minute. Time out. You didn't have to bring that up. That's now you now you getting into y'all intimate side of things. That did not have to be brought into play here. I had to, y'all can't see me, but I had to lean in a little bit to make sure I heard what he said when he said about their sex life. Why are you mentioning the sex life on a murder trial? I don't think they really care what went on in your bedroom. That was between you two. That was an intimate, whatever you listen. Everybody got a kink. It is what it is. But why would you bring that up during a trial like this to try to paint your now deceased wife that you took out as this monster in and outside of the bedroom? Don P said, what is the actual title of the Grift, the book you read? It was called The Grift. It's a long title. I have to look it up and then I'll post it in the chat. It's a pretty lengthy title. But if you, as a matter of fact, Don P, if you just go on Amazon and just type in The Grift, the book should pop up.
I begged her to stop. She wouldn't stop. And I don't know, there's just a lot. She got mad and she would grab me right in the manhood. I mean, I don't know an easy way to put this, but she would just squeeze and pull and just tell me to stop being up. And if we were arguing, I'd stop yelling. And she would just grab me and pull. And just, it felt like she was going to rip them off. And it's just a lot had happened over 7 years.
All right, so that's the end of that, and I'm actually kind of glad that that's the end of that video because I wasn't expecting that part. I wasn't expecting for him to say that part. I really wasn't. Exactly, Miss Gilligan. He's painting her as always being the aggressor, as if him doing basically trying to find a way to justify what he did. Of course, it still didn't work because even though they didn't get him on what people thought he should have been gotten on, he still got 20 years. And really, I think that's probably the main reason why he was breaking down in tears. But we're going to get to that. Let's see here. I'm going to go to the next video. Now, this next video is only 3 minutes and 13 seconds. So we're just kind of jumping around because it's a lot. And clearly we don't want to be here all night. But if you go to Court TV, you can probably look at every video that's related to this trial. And I think the closing arguments alone was an hour and a half long. We ain't going through all of that, but I just wanted to get to the main focal points of this situation. Christian says, is he doing the angry black woman stereotype? That's what it sounds like to me. And he's going above and beyond because now he's apparently saying in the bedroom, she was making him do some things that he didn't like talking about tugging and all. Like I said, I wasn't expecting to hear that part. I was not thinking that he was going to go there with it. And let me just say this, he voluntarily brought that up. They didn't ask him to say anything about that. He voluntarily brought that up. It probably caught them by surprise. So this next video is only 3 minutes and 13 seconds. It's called Redirect. It says, Henning text to Ashley, my wife doesn't respect me. My wife doesn't love me. And as you can see, this is probably a different portion of the questioning. It might be a different person asking question because look at his face. He looks flustered. He looked like he's been crying.
You lost it. What set you say? What set it off? What point did you say to lose?
So now I can tell this is the part where they're getting into the part about what happened the night that he killed his wife. I can tell that's the part that they're at right now.
I don't know exactly what point it was. I just know that I did, and I watched it.
Just a few more questions.
God.
They keep talking about the police that could ruin your career. Obviously, a homicide not only ruins your career, it ruins your life, right?
Yes, sir.
Until that night, Jordan, had you had a traffic ticket?
Did you say that again?
Until that night, had you had a traffic ticket in your life?
Yes, I've had traffic tickets.
And that's your extent of your, I guess, record, traffic tickets.
Yes, sir.
So 20 minutes, your career's gone, freedom's gone, and she's gone.
Yes, sir.
You're even able to think, you just react.
Don't know what I was thinking.
Now you see what you see. This what's going on right now. This, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, is why they put him up on that stand. Because they wanted the jury to see an emotionally, quote unquote, broken man who allegedly was being so abused by his wife that he had reached his powder keg moment and decided to do what he did. Because they know that if they didn't put him up on that stand, he probably would have got hit with worse than what he received as far as a conviction and a sentencing goes. That's why I said, in my honest opinion, it is all performative. Just like they did with Rittenhouse.
Did you break? Soldiers aren't supposed to break. Did you break?
Clearly.
Jordan, you're writing down the pain you're in. Again, I'd have to ask you, why didn't you just get a divorce?
I just wanted things to work out. And when I did try to leave, I thought she was going to take my daughter from me.
So even still now, the attorney just asked him, Jordan, why didn't you just get a divorce? And he says he wanted to work his marriage out, and then comes back and then throws her under the bus again and saying, I thought she was going to take my daughter away from me. So even in the moment of him being very dramatic like he is right now, he still finds a way to throw his deceased wife under the bus even further. And the thing is, she's even further than under the bus. The woman's in a grave. You can't get much further than that. Okay, so that's the end of that. Let's move on to the next video. Share this, see what this one says. It says prosecutor to Jordan Henning. It says the prosecutor asked Jordan why, other than wanting his wife dead, he chambered a new round when he'd already fired 4 bullets into her. Henning was also questioned about an argument he and the victim had over a slip and slide. So let's see what this one's talking about. And this one is 6 minutes and 1 second long.
What possible purpose did you have to rifle around in a gun after you shot her 4 times and she's on the floor? What possible purpose did you have?
I wonder if they're going to bring up the part where he spit on her, because that part, that was, like I said, at that point, yeah, there was no love there. Like, it's already bad enough that you shot this woman 4 times and she's already deceased, and then you go and reload, and like Reparations Nation said, because I think he's the only person in the chat that's watched this whole trial, try to reload, the gun jams, and then you go back, fix it, and then you reload it, and then you pop more times. And the part about the spitting, that is one of the that's one of the highest forms of disrespect. And then your wife was already deceased when you did it.
My purpose for it is to get around back into the chamber, sir.
You wanted her dead. You wanted.
To answer your question, brother man, the trial was last month. It carried over multiple days last month, and the verdict went out on the 21st, I believe. So this is the 17th. The date that they're doing this is on the 17th.
To make sure she was dead. You heard the moaning. She was dying. That wasn't enough for you. Isn't that right? You wanted her dead that night. What other reason would you fire a gun into this young?
He had to have wanted her deceased because he went back and reloaded. Like, come on, like that's pretty cut and dry. That's pretty obvious. And went back and fired more times.
A woman laying on the floor, moaning from the gun bullets that you put in her seconds before. What other purpose other than you wanted her dead? Isn't that what? Can we agree on that?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You don't remember doing this?
I don't.
You don't remember?
And by the way, this is the prosecutor speaking, so they're gonna grill him. The prosecutor gonna grill him. They're not gonna do the softball thing like at the beginning, like that was his attorney doing that. So this is the prosecutor. These are the ones that brought the charges up. So they gonna go in.
You're shooting this young woman a 5th time after you rifle the bullet into the round into this chamber with a gun.
No, I don't, sir.
Either you don't remember or you choose not to remember.
I don't remember it.
You didn't have any problem running out after that, pulling the keys out of the drawer, did you?
I don't
You didn't
know.
have any problem with that, did you?
No.
Didn't have a problem after you got the keys going out to the car. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
You don't even remember that.
No, sir.
And driving at a high rate of speed to get out of there. You don't remember that either?
No, sir.
You choose to forget that part. Is that what you've done? You had no problem talking for an hour about all the stuff you all did leading up to
You
it.
asked the question, and you should be able to give an answer for that question.
I apologize.
And also, Judge, he doesn't need to editorial class, which he just did.
So to sustain to the extent, let him answer the question for
I
you.
apologize. I said it on your answers. I can't remember how long the question. The point I was making is you left in that white sedan after you left her in the kitchen, shot 5 times. Am I right?
Okay.
That's the car they arrested you in. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember driving away at a high rate of speed in that white sedan?
No, sir.
Don't have any memory of that.
I'm guessing he's trying to say, oh, this was all in the heat of the moment. It was adrenaline rushing over me. It's all a blur. Oh, come on. Really? Anybody who would do something like that would remember that. Like, that would be something that is very hard to forget.
We're going to play some video and we'll stop here at each point. So during this 20 minutes. And just so we help the jury, you all had a party that day, is that right?
We did.
It was Ashley's 37th birthday.
It was.
There were some neighbors who come. I think it's Savats, am I pronouncing that right?
Friends of Ashley's, yes.
You might speak up a little bit, I know that.
They're friends of Ashley's. They don't live in the neighborhood, sir.
They don't live in the neighborhood.
Correct.
They were one of the people that came over.
Correct.
And they came over because it was her 37th birthday.
Correct, sir.
Were there others who came to that party?
Yes, there was.
And who were they? Including yourself and your children.
Jimmy Watts, and I believe Jason Bacher was there for a little while, sir.
Off and on?
He don't remember shooting his wife a fifth time, but I'm sure when they took her body down to that coroner's office, they found them 5 bullet holes in her body. And it definitely came from a gun matching his. And I'm sure there was residue there that matched him. So if he didn't, quote unquote, remember it, they do because they have it. That's evidence.
For the whole party.
Towards the end, and then her other friend, Jessica, her son, Andrew, and her daughter, Sadie, were there.
Actually, you had a pretty good group of people.
Yes, sir.
They were all friends of both you and Ashley?
More Ashley, but yes, sir.
All right. They were more Ashley than they were with you, but you knew them all?
Yes, sir.
And you had children.
Yes, sir.
And by that, I mean, Riley was upset.
And I think that's probably the more, sorry to keep pausing it, but I think that's the part that is like even more wild about it, is that he did this to his wife while their kids were there. He had no concern about their children and their well-being, to literally, for their kids to have to hear and in some form witness the slaughter of their mother at the hands of, well, if they had kids together, their dad, and her kids separate from him, their stepdad. Having that's something that's going to traumatize them for the rest of their life. No matter how he tries to spin this and all this, what he said before and saying that she allegedly abused him, all that, this right here is going to stick with them for as long as they live. They will never forget that day. And like somebody said in the chat, her birthday is her death day. So that means every year when her birthday comes around, they're going to have to celebrate her birthday and the day that she died, or acknowledge that. And it's all because of him. Yeah, like reparations. Like you saw the trial, so you can vouch for me when I say this, because I saw the video. That was the hardest part of the video to watch to me, outside of what he did to his wife. Seeing them run frantically back and forth in the house, screaming and looking at the young child running for help.
Upstairs when because she had pink eye or something that night. She was upstairs in her room.
Correct.
As she's just and her older son, what's his name? I'm sorry.
Tyler.
Would he participate in the party?
He came down and grabbed food.
And that was about it.
And took his sister a plate. Yes, sir.
What about Carter?
Him and Samuel and Sadie were playing in the backyard and in the pool.
How old was Carter at that time?
He was 8.
And how old were the other kids? By that I mean the young kids playing Carter.
They were 8 as well.
Swimming pool put it out?
I have one in my backyard, yes, sir.
Is it above ground, one of these little plastic ones, or was it something fancier than that?
It's a 20 foot wide, 5 foot deep above ground pool.
All right. And the kids were playing in it?
Yes, sir.
And there's a slip and slide.
Yes, sir.
Who set that up?
Carter and I did.
All right. Now, what is a slip and slide for those of us maybe too old to remember?
It's a piece of plastic tarp that you hook up to a water hose. It keeps it wet. You run and you can slide on it.
You have to hook it up to a hose with running water?
Yes, sir.
All right. You did that to set it up.
Me and Carter did, yes.
All right, so that's the end of that particular video. And there's only one video left that I'm going to show y'all. And then I'll go ahead and drop the link. Now, I think this video right here is when they talk about the verdict. We got, sentenced to, and then they give then they interview some of Ashley Henning's loved ones about how they felt about this verdict. And trust and believe me, they were very upset about it, which when you know what the verdict is, naturally you would be too, if you were in that position.
In the case of Commonwealth Kentucky versus Jordan Henning, the verdict on the penalty phase is we, the jury, fix the defendant's punishment for the offense of first-degree manslaughter under...
Look at that, first-degree manslaughter, y'all. After what we know, that's when he got hit with first-degree manslaughter. And I read up on what constitutes under the guise of first-degree manslaughter. In my honest opinion, he should have at least got murder in the second degree. At least.
Instruction number 1 at 20 years, signed by the foreperson. Again, let me ask, is that the unanimous verdict of the entire jury? All 12 members? All right, thank you.
That was the sentence handed down to Jordan Henning, what many are calling a shocking sentence for the crime. 20 years for killing his wife, Ashley. Is that enough? The jury convicted Jordan Henning of the lesser charge of first-degree manslaughter, which really did surprise those who had been watching the trial and saw those damning and highly disturbing surveillance videos. We were all able to... Here's some of the video right here. For those of y'all who never, like I told y'all never seen it, this is some of the video right here that's inserted into the news clip. But I don't think they're going to show everything, but this is some of it. To see how Jordan Henning chased and killed his beautiful wife the night of her birthday, shooting her repeatedly, coming back after his gun jammed and spitting on her. Ashley's friends and family were in distress over what they considered a very lenient sentence. And we saw Ashley's cousin not holding back his disdain and outrage for the jury's decision.
I have one more thing to say. I've served this country for almost 22 years. 22 years in the Marine Corps. I've deployed 7 times to a combat operation, to combat zones. 9 times total deployed. And this is the justice that America gives me. Unthinkable, unspeakable, it's disgusting. Thank you, John. Cowards. Every single one of you.
Hey, I can't even knock it. This is her cousin. This is her cousin speaking to the jury and saying, calling them cowards to their face. That just shows he's not accepting it. Hey, I'll tell you this. He's better than Botham John's brother getting up off the stand and going over there to hug Amber Geiger. At least he didn't get up off that stand and go over there and shake Jordan Henning's hand.
Every single one of you are cowards.
Prosecutors argued that after Ashley's birthday party, Jordan flew into a rage. His defense team said there was more to the story than the video showed. They made the argument that Jordan was a victim of physical and mental abuse and simply broke. Clearly, the jury believed him and the story that he told on the witness stand. And we know that Ashley's family is understandably heartbroken. And I'm so pleased to be having on the show this morning Ashley's cousin, who we saw speaking out, John Williams, and Ashley's dear friend, Holly Victorino. May I just start by, John, first of all, saying thank you for your service, and to you and to Holly and everyone else in Ashley's family and friend circle who misses her so much. We are so sorry for your loss. I know this is a tough thing to experience and a tough pill to swallow last night for you with that verdict. John, would you kind of walk us through what was going through your mind when you heard the jury's decision, please?
Yes, ma'am. It started with shock, anger, confusion. I couldn't understand how anybody who's seen that video, and they even came back to ask to see the video multiple times for some of the jury questions, and to see some of the most gruesome parts and to come away with that decision, it was unbelievable to me.
I'm sure it was. It was unbelievable to so many of us trial watchers who were watching it. And many of us, myself included, thought this was a foregone conclusion. When I heard his defense attorney ask in opening statements to find him guilty of something lesser than murder, that told me, oh, wow, this guy probably would have pled to that. But these prosecutors did not want to allow that to happen. And I don't blame them. I think they were absolutely correct to move forward on the murder charges. And here the jury did what they did. Holly, tell me your reaction. Where were you when you heard the jury's decision, and what did you think, please?
Yeah, I was in the courtroom sitting right by John. It was just the same as him. It was shock. I was devastated, disgusted. And I cannot help. I thought of this all night. I cannot help but think this is strictly on the prosecutor's shoulders. And also, I feel like this is because Ashley was Black, and had the tables been turned and she killed her white husband, she would have been held accountable and done much more time than 20.
Now, y'all just heard what she just said. Y'all heard what this woman just said. She said, had the tables been turned and Ashley, as a Black woman, would have killed Jordan, her white husband, this would have turned out a whole lot. And if it played out the same exact way, saying she was abused and, she was in fear of her life and all this, that, and the third, that Jordan was presenting himself up there in the videos that we show, her crying the crocodile and alligator tears, they would throw the book at her.
20 years. And I just feel like this whole entire court system failed her. When they were doing jury selection, they had over 100 jurors show up for selection. They selected 14, with 2 being alternates. Out of all of that, there was only one beautiful Black woman who was on that. Just yesterday, right before everything started, deliberations, they said they were going to randomly select 2 people to be let go. She was one of them. That beautiful Black lady was one of them that got selected to be let go. And I cannot help but think there's just more to the story, and that a lot of it has to do with race. And I am furious. It's disgusting. And it's just something I feel like I'm never going to get over.
Holly, thank you so much for sharing that. The makeup of the jury. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. So this was then an all-white deliberating jury. Am I correct
Yes,
then,
ma'am.
if you're saying that one of the
Yes.
folks who was chosen to be an alternate was the one you noted, just stunning Black woman who was on the jury hearing everything? Oh, who knows? Who knows? But thank you for raising that point. And I know many of our trial watchers, who are discussing things on message boards.
And you can tell by the way the reporter reacted to what she said about the jury makeup, caught her by surprise, because she's leaning on to that because she didn't even know. Like, apparently, to me, it sounds like this is the first time where they mention the jury, the demographic of the jury. Like, it was never mentioned before that. And the thing is, I have a feeling if the friend didn't say that, we would never know what the makeup of the jury was. So she told quite a bit by saying what she just said in about 2 minutes.
And whatnot. I have wondered the same. The one thing that I was talking with
And this is in Kentucky, by the way, just in case anyone came in late and didn't know where this trial was at. This is in Kentucky, so you already know when you hear the words Kentucky, you know what time it is.
talking about on my show yesterday with a friend of mine who is a retired JAG officer, is that in all the testimony, we didn't hear anybody but Jordan Henning saying that he was abused. And I can't help but wonder if there was some projection going on. I don't know. John, tell me, in all the years, thinking back, I know hindsight's 2020. Was there ever a situation where you thought Ashley might have been abused or controlled by Jordan?
Controlled, yes. I did not think that Jordan would be dumb enough, callous enough, unbecoming of a man enough to abuse his wife, to abuse his children. And to be quite frankly, I don't think that Ashley would tolerate anything that would rise to the level of abuse.
Understood. So just controlling actions, maybe controlling words, but nothing physical to your knowledge. Thank you for that, John. We know that that day was supposed to be a celebration, her 37th birthday, a party at her house. I mean, and it turned into a nightmare, as you both know. Holly, you were so kind to share with us a video that a friend of yours took. You were there at the birthday party. Let's take a look back together at beautiful Ashley.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ashley.
Oh, that's hard to watch, isn't it? You know, and I obviously don't know her, but I just feel for you both. Holly, what do you think when you see that video?
First off, I just want to clarify, I was not at the party. Her other friend that
sorry.
testified, Jamie, was the one that recorded that. That's okay.
Yeah. Thank you for
seeing
that.
that video is, yes, ma'am. Seeing that video is heartbreaking because it just gives you a small glimpse of the type of person Ashley was. She was happy. Anytime she was around her friends, she was happy. Just the most caring, bubbly person. She had the best laugh. It was so loud and just, she just had the best laugh. And she was supportive of all of her friends and family. And I cannot help but be disgusted when I watch that, and to know that only a couple hours later, her life was taken from her.
I completely understand how you feel. You know, I saw that video evidence, and it's rare you get evidence like that in a homicide case, especially a domestic situation behind closed doors. And the evidence was certainly there to substantiate those charges. I don't know what the jury saw. I know what I saw. John, tell us more about Ashley, you know, because prosecutors are restricted on what they can bring in about a case victim, right? You wish you could share everything with the jury, but the rules don't allow you to. So share with us some more. Tell us more about your cousin.
Yes, ma'am. She was an Army soldier. She was a wife, mother. She was a volunteer. She just recently graduated with her degree in human resource management, volunteering at the local the food shelter down here in Hardin County. You know, juggling her son, taking him to soccer games and soccer practices. She was everything. She was Superwoman. She was Wonder Woman. She could. There was nothing Ashley couldn't conquer. There was no one that came in contact with Ashley and walked away with the negative perception of her. How do you take somebody like that in this world? Take someone like that who means so much to everybody away from us. And there's no way to describe what Ashley meant to me, to her friends like Holly, to her friends like Miss Jamie Savat, to my family, to her children. How do you describe the loss of everything? She was everything.
What a beautiful human being. What a successful human being, an American hero. your cousin was. My heart breaks for you, John, and Holly, for you too. I know, sometimes friends they're family of the heart, right? And I know you loved her too, just like John does and always will. Ashley's kids, I keep thinking about her kids in all this. And of course, we can't show them and we want to protect their privacy, but how are they doing, Holly or John, if either of you have spoken to them recently? How are they holding up?
Yeah, I just spoke to her oldest son last night on FaceTime. And the best way to put this is these children were given a life sentence that they didn't ask for. Carter is still a young child. And all I think about is, what if he's invited to birthday parties and he sees a slip and slide? He's going to remember the night that this happened and that this fight started over a slip and slide. And it's just, she's not going to be there. Her oldest son graduates high school.
Over a slip and slide, y'all. That's what started the argument. A freaking slip and slide. But honestly, I truly believe that that was just a small part of it. Something tells me it was something else going on in the background, but that's what they leaned on. But really, a slip and slide is what started the argument that night.
High school this year, she would have been the loudest one, cheering him on, supporting him. She's not going to be there for anything. And it's just, it is so heartbreaking because they deserve so much more, and all of this could have been avoided. I worry a lot about Carter because he was unfortunately very, in the moment with them when this was happening. He ran away terrified. He did what he could do to try to save his mom. And I know this is going to be on his shoulders forever. And I hope that he doesn't feel guilty for this. And I do want to mention that this child has so much weight on his shoulders that at Ashley's funeral, he couldn't even go in the room for a long time. And then when he did, he walked up to her casket, just collapsed himself on her body and was apologizing to her as if it was his fault. And it's this jury, this judge, this entire court did her no justice. And now these children have to live with the life sentence they were given by the monster of a stepdad they lived with.
Wow. Gosh, Holly, thank you for sharing that. These are the stories that we don't get to hear and we should get to hear. On Court TV, we show the trials. Our cameras are restricted to showing that. And unless, people like you who are tremendous advocates for Ashley come forward and share those stories, they're left untold. So thank you for that. Our hearts, our love and prayers go out to you both and to Ashley's children. They should be so proud of their mom. And for her son who tried to get her help, he should be so proud. That was a valiant effort, and he did everything right that day. I hope he knows that. Please come back. Let us know how the kids are doing. You both, I know, are going to be great advocates for them. Whether you know it or not, you're already advocating for Ashley's children and carrying on her legacy. And I want you to know we're certainly not forgetting about Ashley here at Court TV. We're saluting her. I saluted her in my opening statement this morning at 8, and we want to do it again as we go to break. John Williams, Holly Victorino, thank you both so much for.
All right, so that's the end of that. I wanted to end it on that one right there because I felt like that was the best way to end that particular video. Man, that was a lot, especially the ending, the last video that I showed you. That was a lot. That's why I said the kids is who I feel the most for, because they had to be in the moment when that occurred, when that happened. I couldn't even imagine what they were going through at that time or what they're going through now. Like I said, every year that their mother's birthday rolls around, that's also the same day that she dies. That's just right. MP7, a slip and slide. Like I said before, sure, in the moment it was about the slip and slide, but I truly believe, like Reparations said earlier, that was the catalyst. But it wasn't the only thing. I think it was some buildup there going on. Because if you're going to sit here and tell me that this happened from a slip and slide, then that guy is more psychotic than I gave him credit for. Because something as minuscule as that's insane. That's what I said. I don't believe it was just that. I think it was something else, but that was just that was something else added into it. It's just that was the last thing that they were arguing over before he killed her. I think that's what they're leaning more into saying, is that the argument happened with that. But for him to go and get his firearm and to do that to her and then spit on her and all that, you can't tell me that it just came from that. So in my honest opinion, I honestly do believe that it was more to it than just that. Will any of that actually come out? I don't know. Because with her being deceased, he's the only one that can say anything if he chooses to say anything. Now, to say he got 20 years. So he's 34 now. So that means he'll get out when he's 54. Assuming they don't try to appeal, which I'm sure they're going to try to do. If he does all 20 years, which is the max for that particular charge, he'll be out when he's 54. But yeah, I truly believe that it was more to it than just a slip and slide. Yeah, Doc Spencer, that is this case. Yeah, Nightfall, he got a first-degree manslaughter charge. That's why the cousin was pissed and called the jury cowards, because they believe that first-degree manslaughter for what he did, and after all the evidence and everything that they saw and heard, there's no way that's the conclusion they came up with. That's why I said, in my honest opinion, he should have got murder in the second degree at the least. Like, in my honest opinion, that's where it should have fell, right there. Because they weren't going to get him a first degree because they would have to prove intent, and they weren't going to prove that. Second degree, I truly believe that's where they should have got him at, for sure. Well, like I said, Wallow, that would have been hard to prove because they would have had to prove that he planned to do that. And there's no evidence to prove that he planned to do it. So that's why I said, to play it safe, go with the second degree. And definitely a crime of passion for sure, because he shot her 4 times, the gun jammed, and then he fixed it and then shot her again and then spit on her. Hey, what's going on, Pam? Pam said, it's amazing when the 8x11s, I like how you put that, commit crimes. There are so many excuses, almost infantilizing them. If she had done the same thing, she would have been sentenced to life. Pam, I don't know when you came into the chat. I don't know if you just got here, but I played the video at the end where they were talking to the cousin and her friend. Her friend said the exact same thing. She said if Ashley, being a black woman, would have did this to her white husband, they would have threw the book at her. And honestly, I can't even argue with her and say that she's wrong. MP7 says, so MAGA not making videos about this. Oh, trust and believe they're not. And they had opportunity to do so because the trial happened last month. The trial ended on the 21st of March. It's now April 15th. Just like they're not going to talk about Cody Balmer and they're not going to talk about Nikita Kassev. Now I'm going to ask those in the chat because I'm actually going to do a live on them at a later date. Who knows who Cody Balmer and Nikita Kassev are? I'm just asking to see how many yeses or no's there are that's going to come through in this chat. Y'all might know who Nikita Kassev is because that name kind of floated around. Wallow said too, you have no idea. Why am I not surprised? Okay, Brother Man said yes and Pam said yes. I'm not surprised by the people that said they have no idea who those two are and those who said no. But for those of y'all who don't know, but y'all have heard of them because y'all heard of what they did. And because of everything going on with Carmelo Anthony, I wouldn't fault you because that's the thing that's constantly getting pushed. Nikita Kassev is the individual, the teenager who took out his parents and plotted to assassinate 47. Cody Balmer is the one. Cody Balmer is the individual who set the governor's mansion on fire in Pennsylvania, while Josh Shapiro, the governor, and his family were inside. Now that I've broken that down, I'm gonna ask again: do y'all know who Nikita Kassab and Cody Balmer are? See, that's why I asked that. You don't know about that because it's not being pushed like that. It really isn't. But they so focused on crashing out over Carmelo Anthony, when I can argue that what those two did is way worse than what Carmelo Anthony did. Way, way worse. But I'm going to talk about them at a later date. So that'll give you enough time to look more into those two particular stories, because by the time I talk about it, it should be more information to come out about it. Mr. Williams says, not by name, but I heard those cases. Well, now you have the names and you have the cases. DSM Sinister said, I do know who Balmer is. That story isn't getting pushed at all on mainstream media. I think Josh Shapiro recently did like a press conference or something where he, spoke about it. And he and his family are lucky because from my understanding, where the fire was set at, no one was on that side of the house. But had they been there, then they probably it would have been some casualties for sure. Hold on, y'all. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about those. It won't be this week though. I'm just giving y'all a heads up. It won't be this week because I have one more live that I'm gonna do this week, but that's gonna be on Saturday. And I think I kind of already told y'all last week what that live was gonna be. Now, you would think they would, if they weren't going to push Cody Balmer out like that, you would think for certain that they was going to push the one about Nikita Kassab, considering first off, what he did to his parents, and then two, what he planned to do with the insurance money, what he was planning to do. One would think, considering the attempts on then 45's life last year. But it's nowhere in the media, and that's why I asked y'all, did y'all know who they were? So I don't fault you for that. D Money says the Cody guy is new to me. There you go. And the crazy part about it is both of them happened around the same time, which was, I'll ask y'all this. When did this happen? Now that we know who they are, what they plan to do, what one did and what one planned to do, when did this happen? It happened over the weekend. It happened over the weekend. But I bet you any amount of money, if this was a holiday weekend, they would have been talking about Chicago. Why weren't they talking about this? It literally happened over the weekend. At the very most, over the course of the last week. But what were they crashing out about? Carmelo Anthony Gibson Go, which, a little spoiler alert, that's going to be the midday live discussion on Saturday. Man, when I tell y'all, I have bookmarked so much stuff about this on Twitter alone. This is going to be just sort of like that live that I did when we initially talked about the story when it first broke. And wait till y'all see the stuff that they have been crashing out about. And even some of the stuff that have gone to extreme. I mean, some of them have gone to extreme levels. If y'all are on Twitter, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. If y'all follow me, especially, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, y'all, I'm not going to drop the link tonight because this is one of those like heavy, like really, really heavy topics. So I'm not going to drop the link tonight. But of course, for sure, on Saturday, I definitely will be dropping the link for that live. But we are about to get up out of here. A shout out to the fundraiser and stay positive for the contributions. Shout out to all of the mods, all of the members, everybody over there on Patreon. And if you are subscribed to my Patreon, of course, y'all know y'all will be getting your middle of the week video tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have 2 videos coming for you tomorrow at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. First off, before we get up out of here, do y'all like the double uploads? Do y'all like me, the new structure I have right now where I have where I do a live on a Tuesday and a Thursday and sometimes on a Saturday, and then have the videos come on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's 2 of them, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. Y'all let me know about that. I think y'all do like it based on the reception that I've seen. But those 2 videos will be coming tomorrow, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And with that being said, y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. I think the weather's pretty nice. Y'all still got a little bit of daylight out there to do your thing, but if nothing else, make sure y'all stay safe, stay good, and of course, above all else, be one.